The world tells young men to search for love, to win affection, to give their hearts in hopes of salvation through romance. From childhood, we're steeped in stories where love is the answer, the goal, the final reward. But what if the pursuit of love, when placed above wisdom, character, and purpose, is not a path to salvation, but a descent into illusion? Today, we look back nearly 2,000 years to the writings of Tertullian, an early Christian theologian and philosopher, to understand this illusion and how his insights reveal startling truths about modern man's romantic disorientation. Tertullian was born around 155 AD in Carthage, a Roman province in North Africa. Educated in law and rhetoric, he converted to Christianity in adulthood and quickly became one of its fiercest intellectual defenders. He was bold, often uncompromising, and unafraid to speak truths that disturbed polite society. Though his later life was marked by controversy and affiliation with the Montanist sect, Tertullian's writings endure as some of the earliest theological commentaries in Latin. But beyond doctrine, he left us with a brutal, unvarnished view of the spiritual dangers he believed lurked behind the feminine facade. Tertullian's most quoted critique comes from his treatise, On the Apparel of Women, where he wrote, "You are the devil's gateway. You are the first deserter of the divine law. You destroyed so easily God's image, man. On account of your desert, that is, death, even the Son of God had to die." These words are not gentle. They are not poetic. They are meant to shake, to unsettle, to awaken. He was not simply condemning women. He was warning men. To Tertullian, woman symbolized the vehicle through which temptation, distraction, and moral weakness entered the world. Eve was not merely the first woman, she was the archetype of moral collapse. He did not see her as a unique villain, but as a mirror held up to all who resemble her in spirit, seductive, vain, impulsive, and morally unstable. Modern ears recoil, but the principle behind his message remains potent, especially today. Young men now face a new Eve, not in Eden, but online. Social media is the new fig tree. Dating apps the new serpent. The modern ideal of womanhood, shaped by filters, attention economies, and endless affirmation, lures men not with fruit, but with fantasies. The fantasy of being chosen, the fantasy of being enough. The fantasy of finding a woman who completes you. But like the fruit in Eden, what's promised is not what's delivered. What begins as a romantic dream ends in spiritual disarray. Divorce rates soar. Over 70% of modern divorces are initiated by women. Men are twice as likely to experience depression after a breakup. Many fall into financial ruin, legal battles, and psychological collapse after relationships fail. The promise of salvation becomes a slow bleed of identity. Tertullian understood that a man's spirit must be guarded. He saw femininity as a test of resolve, not because he hated women, but because he revered the soul. He saw clearly that men could be spiritually undone not by war, not by hunger, but by affection when affection came without discipline. What does that mean today? It means that the modern man must look deeper. Behind the Instagram perfection, behind the curated profiles, behind the flirtatious glance or romantic text, there is a challenge. Will you forget yourself to be loved? Will you trade your purpose for peace? Your values for validation? Tertullian believed true masculinity was found in self-control, in spiritual sobriety. The flesh, he wrote, is the hinge of salvation. He didn't just mean physical temptation. He meant the whole framework of worldly desire that pulls a man away from what is eternal. And no force, he argued, pulled harder than woman when woman becomes an idol. Idolatry is when you take something good and make it ultimate. Love is good. Companionship is good. But when you take a woman and place her on a throne, when her approval becomes your purpose, you have committed a spiritual crime. Not against her, but against yourself. Tertullian spoke to a world saturated in pagan worship, where temples were filled with the statues of Venus and Aphrodite. Today, our temples are digital. We kneel before TikTok dances. We burn incense before profile pictures. We sacrifice hours, dollars, dignity, all to be seen, all to be desired. The man who worships the feminine ideal will always be hungry. He will always be anxious, always questioning if he is enough. He becomes pliable, moldable, losing his essence in the hope that someone will say, "You are worthy." But Tertullian asks, worthy of what? Of whose love? At what cost? He warned early Christians that femininity, untempered by divine discipline, leads not to peace but to ruin. He saw in woman the reflection of nature beautiful. Yes, but also chaotic, untamed, and dangerous when exalted above reason. He did not ask men to hate women. He asked them to love truth more. Today, young men face a romantic culture that flatters the feminine and belittles the masculine. They are taught to apologize for their instincts, to soften their strength, to yield in pursuit of emotional harmony. But harmony built on self-erasure is not peace, it is spiritual death. The modern man is not being asked to be better. He is being asked to disappear, to become agreeable, to become useful. But Tertullian would say, a man's soul is not a service. It is a sanctuary. Guard it. What does this guarding look like today? First, it means silence. Not submission, but reflection. Taking time away from the noise, the apps, the chaos, to hear your own voice again. Solitude is the furnace in which identity is forged. Second, it means skepticism. Not cynicism, but clear-eyed discernment. Don't believe what sells. Don't chase what trends. The woman who seeks eyes, not substance, will leave you empty. The attention you buy today becomes the indifference you suffer tomorrow. Third, it means mission. Tertullian's life was a war for truth. He believed that a man must serve a higher purpose, one anchored in something beyond flesh. Whether you are religious or not, the principle remains. You must aim higher than affection. Fourth, it means memory. Remember who you were before you were hurt. Before you were ghosted. Before you were told you weren't enough. That boy still lives. He is not weak. He is not broken. He is waiting for you to reclaim him. Fifth, it means courage. The courage to walk alone. The courage to speak plainly. The courage to reject the invitation to a feast of illusions. Because not every banquet is for your nourishment. Some are meant for your taming. Sixth, it means fellowship. True brothers are rare, but find them. Men who sharpen you, who hold you accountable, who remind you of your fire. Isolation weakens. Brotherhood fortifies. Look around you. How many young men have been hollowed out by rejection? How many change their values to win a date? How many suffer in silence because the world shames them for needing purpose more than partnership? Tertullian would call this spiritual warfare. He would say that your soul is not a trinket to be offered to the next passing face. It is a kingdom. You are its king. Defend it. Love will come. Or it won't. That is not the measure. The measure is who you are becoming while you wait. Are you becoming strong? Focused? Wise? Or are you becoming soft, addicted, anxious? Do not let your identity be rented by algorithms. Do not let your worth be measured by matches. Do not let your vision be blurred by perfume and praise. Tertullian, in his defiance, saw something clearly. The world will dress up destruction in beauty. It will hand you a cup filled with poison and call it wine. The man who drinks without thinking dies without knowing. Do not drink. Think. And in that thought, reclaim yourself. The final message is this. You do not need her to be whole. You need truth. You need a mission. You need clarity. If love fits into that path, welcome it. If it pulls you from it, reject it. The feminine is not your enemy, but she is not your savior either. She is a fellow traveler if she walks with you. But many today walk only for attention, not direction. Walk alone if you must. It is better to be alone with truth than to be surrounded by illusions. You were not born to beg. You were not born to chase shadows. You were born to stand, to build, to burn with purpose. If the world does not understand that, let it stay confused. You have clarity now. You have warning. Walk with it. The soul you guard today becomes the fortress you live in tomorrow. Let no one decorate your prison and call it love. Stand tall. Stand true. Let your soul remain your own. This is your warning. This is your freedom. But as men awaken, as more step back from the illusion, a consequence unfolds, one not often spoken aloud. When men walk away, society shifts. The pedestal begins to crack. And for many women, it is disorienting. This withdrawal isn't just quiet rebellion, it is structural collapse. The attention once so freely given is drying up. The flattery, the pursuit, the sacrifice less common. Dating markets grow colder. Marriages decline. Fertility plummets. Loneliness spreads like smoke in both sexes. Because when men stop playing a rigged game, the game begins to die. Yet in that dying, there is a painful truth. Women suffer too. Because many have built their self-worth on being desired. When that desire fades, the mirror grows dim. And the tragedy is not in the loss of power, it is in the loss of connection, meaning, and future. But it doesn't have to end in silence and distance. Redemption begins with recognition. For women who wish to reclaim harmony with men, choose humility over performance. Choose depth over attention. Choose to build, not to consume. Seek to walk beside, not ahead or behind. Respect masculine direction. Nourish masculine honor. Speak truth, not flattery. Offer support, not tests. Become again what was once sacred feminine, not performative. A better future is possible, but only when both sides surrender illusion for truth. To those watching, if these words have resonated, if this warning stirred something in you, like, share, and follow. Not for vanity, but to spread truth in a world drowning in noise. Because truth spoken plainly can still set souls free. And perhaps, just perhaps, a few men and women will meet not in illusion, but in clarity. Not in escape, but in purpose. And from that, something real may yet grow. Walk wisely, and guard your soul.